When it comes to the economy, despite a lot of good news, new polling shows that voters in crucial battleground states are now saying that things were better under Donald Trump than they currently are, and it's not even close. At the same time, a Koch-backed group is trying to get Latino voters to go Republican in November because of Biden's economic policies. The group is launching an ad campaign that says those policies are leading to, quote, to the demise of the American dream for immigrants. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris kicked off a multi-state economic opportunity tour to promote the administration's investments in local communities, and there are a lot of them. Here with me to discuss, MSNBC contributor Brian Tyler Cohen and Tim Miller, host of the Bulwark podcast and former communications director for Republican Jeb Bush. Brian, these polling numbers on the economy are not a surprise, right? The pollsters are saying, how do you feel? And people don't feel great because life's expensive. Your food's expensive. Your rent is expensive. Gas is now expensive. And that impacts people. But here's the thing. Donald Trump is offering a grand total of 0 economic policy solutions. And what President Biden is doing is an awful lot to help deal with the impact of inflation. So why are things where they are? What's your reaction?
I think a big part of this is that half of the country gets their news from like a right-wing media machine that kind of exists solely to just tear Democrats down and lift Republicans up. And they do it in this kind of like alternate reality where crime is up, where the economy is down, where Democrats don't engage on the border, where women are getting post-birth abortions, where Donald Trump did nothing wrong. And so these people don't know the reality of the economy that Biden is presiding over, for example, where, to your earlier point, we do have 15 million jobs that have been added, where we have a record high stock market, the longest stretch of sub 4% unemployment in half a century, where we have the fastest recovery in the G7. So it's no surprise that half of our country is kind of sour on the state of the economy when they're being fed this alternate reality on a daily basis.
But, Tim, even if you weren't being fed all that news, life is expensive, right? Inflation is what it is. It's significantly better here than it is in other parts of the world. But it's interesting that this Koch political arm is targeting Latinos. Are they that vulnerable when it comes to being economic voters? Are they up for grabs when it comes to the Biden economy?
Some of them are certainly up for grabs. I do want to take a victory lap on the Koch group, though, because I was criticizing them during the primary, saying they weren't actually really campaigning against Trump, though, you know, they did a few ad buys, and here they are supporting Trump in the general election. So, you know, you can kind of tell when somebody's putting their money where their mouth is in these sort of campaigns. But as for the actual facts of this, I think that, you know, Brian is right. Some people are living in a media disinfo environment, and that's coloring their views. I think that there's another group of people out there that are annoyed by the economy. I said on this show a while back, Steph, that we're in an annoying
You're the first to say it.
Yeah, right. And I think that there are some people that still live that way, right? Maybe they haven't lost their job, right? Or maybe they've gotten a small raise, but all of their everyday expenses are more, you know, cost more. And that drives people crazy. And that's why incumbents of approval ratings are bad. It's not just Joe Biden's, all over the world. You know, incumbent leaders, prime ministers and presidents have bad approval numbers. So I do think there's a group of people. I think that if you look at economically vulnerable Latinos and black voters, particularly men, Republicans are going to try to peel those folks off, and Democrats are going to have to make the case for why they should stick with them. The one other thing, the one piece of good information in the polling is a lot of these people, when you ask them how their state's economy is going, they say it's going pretty good. And so maybe there's just a lag, and we've got to get back around to Joe Biden because people's impressions of the national economy are worse than what they're experiencing. And I think that's maybe the most hopeful sign in the data right now.
Tim, let's talk about who got together this weekend. Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis talking about a possible joint fundraising push. What's your reaction to this Florida reunion?
Meatball and mango, just get together again, like peanut butter and jelly. Look, these guys need each other. That's what it is. It's simple as that. Ron DeSantis still thinks he's going to run for president in 2028. I find that to be absurd, but he thinks he is. And he thinks he can win Trump back over if he's not running against Trump. Then maybe, you know, whatever, bygones will be bygones. I don't know why he is making that calculation or why he thinks that's realistic, but I think he thinks it's his only hope. Trump, on the other hand, needs money. To your point in the last segment, depending on what happens with that stock, his personal wealth might be okay, but his campaign is not, and they're spending a ton of money on lawyers and on all of these outside groups. And Ron DeSantis didn't do very well with small dollar donors or Republican voters, but he did really well with rich Republicans. And so Donald Trump needs them now, and Donald Trump will make up with people when he needs them. That's a long-running habit of his.
He did really well with rich Republicans early on, and then he stumbled over and over and over.
Sure.
And then they gave up. Brian, let's talk about a different Trump tension that has arisen. He is reportedly growing tired of Kari Lake, saying that she's actually spending too much time with him and not enough in Arizona on her own Senate race. Can you explain to our audience why this is a problem for Trump? Because normally he doesn't care if people are focusing on their day jobs or their lives, as long as they're fanning him. But that's not the case here. Why?
Well, I think because she reflects really poorly on him. I mean, I wouldn't want Kari Lake to be talking about me if she was tying herself to me. I mean, she's presented herself as poorly as it gets when it comes to these U.S. Senate races. She's far too extreme. She's already lost one race, and somehow, the whole apparatus of the Arizona Republican Party has kind of contorted itself into this Kari Lake Trumpism machine again. And so she's the nominee here, but she's not doing anything to help herself. She's shown in this Arizona abortion ban with her previous comments that she was perfectly willing to go as extreme as possible. And this is in an electorate where they're not that extreme. So she has the whole weight of this 1864 abortion ban hanging around her neck because previously she had kind of taken ownership of it. So she's not really reflecting well on Donald Trump. He sees that. He can see when someone's a loser. And I think he just wants to distance himself from him. And she, meanwhile, is just trying to tie herself to him.
All right, Tim, before we go, I got to ask you about the dog. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem has a book coming out. Guardian got an advance copy. And it's not like this secret about her has leaked out. People found out. She's bragging about it. She chose to write a whole piece in the book about how her dog, who was just over a year old, couldn't seem to behave. She could not train this dog, so she took him to a gravel pit and shot him dead. Has she just shot her political career dead? Just react to this for us, please.
R.I.P. to the dog. I think that I never thought that she was going to get the VP pick. I think she has a lot of baggage and a lot of problems. But yeah, look, my reaction is I think that all these guys who are doing the MAGA fakery thing, where they try to feel like they need to be tough and that's what MAGA voters want. And so they do this performative stuff. And a lot of times they just miss the boat because they're faking it. And I think that she thought that people might think this shows her as a strong woman. Who the heck knows? But I think that's what she was thinking. And it doesn't take a professional political pundit to know that talking about killing dogs is not really a winner.